Welcome. Today we are discussing fasting, specifically time-restricted feeding, and exactly how it dictates your fat loss, your organ health, and your lifespan. When it comes to nutrition, we constantly argue about what to eat, whether that is low-carb, low-fat, keto, or vegan. But clinical data reveals that when you eat is just as critical to your cellular health as what you put on your plate. Today, we are stripping away the diet fads to look strictly at the biological mechanisms of fasting. We will cover how your eating window alters your circadian clock genes, how fasting triggers profound cellular repair, and the science-backed protocols to maximize fat loss without losing muscle. To understand fasting, we have to look at the landmark 2012 study by Dr. Satchin Panda at the Salk Institute. Researchers took two groups of mice and fed them the exact same high-fat, highly palatable diet. Group A could eat whenever they wanted around the clock. Group B was restricted to an 8-hour feeding window. The results were staggering. Group A became obese and developed severe metabolic disease and fatty liver. Group B, eating the exact same amount of calories but in a restricted window, maintained their weight, lost fat, and reversed prior disease markers. Why? Because eating is not a passive event. It is a highly demanding metabolic stressor. When you eat, you trigger inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6 to process that food. If you eat continuously from the moment you wake until you go to sleep, your body remains in a chronic state of low-level inflammation. Restricting your feeding window gives your liver, your gut microbiome, and your cellular machinery the essential downtime they need to repair. Think of your body as operating in two distinct states: fed and fasted. When you are in a fed state, meaning insulin and blood glucose are elevated, your cells activate a pathway called mTOR. This is the biological pathway of cellular growth. It builds muscle, stores energy, and promotes mass. When you enter a fasted state, when blood glucose drops, your cells shut off mTOR and activate AMPK and the sirtuin pathways. This flips the biological switch from growth to repair. Your body begins a process called autophagy, literally self-eating, where it hunts down dead, injured, or senescent cells and clears them out. By eating around the clock, you trap your body in a permanent state of growth and never allow it to clean up the metabolic garbage. If you want to extract the maximum health, fat loss, and longevity benefits of time-restricted feeding, clinical data points to 3 non-negotiable rules. Rule number 1, do not ingest calories for at least the first 60 minutes after waking up. Rule number 2, do not ingest any calories for 2 to 3 hours before going to sleep. Your body performs its deepest autophagic repair during sleep. If you eat right before bed, your body spends the first half of the night digesting rather than repairing. Rule number 3, aim for an 8-hour feeding window. Studies show that restricting food to 8 hours naturally creates a mild caloric deficit, drops blood pressure, and shifts the body to rely heavily on fat stores for energy. If you target an 8-hour window, you will likely drift to 9 hours, which still keeps you perfectly within the clinical parameters for optimal health. Your body runs on a 24-hour clock. Over 80% of the genes in your body and brain are on a strict schedule, waiting for signals to turn on or off. The number 1 signal is sunlight entering your eyes. The number 2 signal is food. When you eat at random, shifting times every day, especially on weekends, you are essentially giving your metabolic organs jet lag. If your feeding window jumps around, it disrupts the clock genes regulating your liver and digestion. Keep your feeding window relatively stable every single day. If you want to maintain or build muscle, clinical data suggests shifting that 8-hour window earlier in the day, as protein synthesis genes like BMAL are highly active in the morning. Remember, taking your last bite of food at 8 p.m. does not mean you are instantly fasting. Depending on the size of the meal, you could remain in a fed state for 4 to 6 hours. However, you can biologically accelerate this transition. Glucose clearing is the secret. A brisk 20-minute walk after your last meal or high-intensity interval training done in the late afternoon forces your muscles to rapidly soak up circulating blood glucose. This swiftly drops your insulin levels, forcing your body into a fasted, fat-burning state hours earlier than it would if you just sat on the couch. What breaks a fast? Anything that spikes your blood glucose. Black coffee, plain tea, and water are perfectly fine. But if you struggle with the fasting window, if you get lightheaded, shaky, or aggressively hungry, you probably are not actually starving. You are likely lacking electrolytes. Caffeine flushes sodium from your system. By simply dissolving a half teaspoon of sea salt into a glass of water and drinking it, you restore blood volume and stabilize your nervous system. For most people, this instantly eliminates fasting jitters and hunger pangs. Time-restricted feeding is not a magic diet. It is a profound alignment with human biology. By compressing your eating into an 8-hour window, respecting your sleep boundaries, and keeping your schedule consistent, you flip the switch from chronic inflammation to deep cellular repair. You force the body to burn fat, clear out metabolic waste, and optimize liver health. Find a schedule that fits your life, be consistent, and respect the biological data. Subscribe to the MedMetrics and take absolute command of your metabolic and cellular health today.